All right, so I'm going to do something a little different, or a lot different actually for me. I was asked to help with a homework project by my new friend Zoe. She wanted to interview an artist, or a living artist. Interview a living artist. So I'm really proud to be asked. So I thought we'd just do this in video form, and then Zoe, I'll type this up later. And we're going to do a studio mate in another state. I'm working on this and I'm really excited about where it's going. It's still weird. They're always weird. But I feel so confident in most of the lines that I've made and the decisions that I've made that I started mixing in a little bit of Neo McGilp here and there. This line, this outside line, some of the reds, not too many though, just here or there. Again, it starts off, this is a mixture of Zoe and anybody else that cares, for Zoe and anybody else that cares. All my canvases start off with black and white gesso, then I go through and I spray in aerosol using doilies and shapes and things that I like. Sometimes the aerosol shapes and colors and textures show through, and then other times I just cover them. I like to make a puzzle though for myself. Before I start, I like to make it as confusing as possible, and then I have to dig my way out of this horrible confusing puzzle. You can see some of the lines down here where I started to lay out the basic figures, just basic ideas, and then I started covering them or working with them in oil. Like here you can see the horse was up here. You can see some of the blue that I used to outline the horse and outline his face. You can still see it, but where I'm applying mineral spirits and oils. Over here you can see some of the aerosols showing through, and I did put down oil. And what's going to happen if I do this correctly is with the oil, once I get through with the mineral spirits, which I love, mineral spirits and oils keeps everything dry and flat. And then I'll start mixing in some Neo McGilp, or I may start mixing in Neo McGilp, which will allow light to go through the oil, through the medium, down to the aerosol, and then bounce back out again. So it has a little bit of a glow. But I don't want to mix in too much Neo McGilp, because I don't want this to be one big shiny project. What I play with a lot is flats, dry flat paint, dry flat gesso, oil pastel, which can be a little flat, and then mixing in my favorite medium, Neo McGilp by Gamblin Artist Color, and getting a little bit of shine, but I don't want too much of it. I just don't, I've made that mistake of using too much Neo McGilp and getting too much shine, but I want to make sure that I have a little bit of glow in different places. This will go orange for a little bit, and then I'll go red again, so that once again, the light goes through, bounces back out, and I've got a nice glow. So that's where we are, and we'll do studio mate in another state in a little while after I pick up my dog from the groomer. It's his birthday, and for his birthday every year he gets a haircut. So let's get into the questions she sent me. The artist's name, what is the artist's name? My name is Beck Lane. I am 57, which I think I'm supposed to be ashamed of, but I'm not sure. And because age is a bad thing, but I can't help it. It happens to everyone. My location, I am currently living in Sarasota, Florida. I'm a native Cape Codder. I'm from Dennisport, Massachusetts. That's where I was born, was at Cape Cod Hospital. I moved to New Bedford, Mass for a while. Lived in Providence, Rhode Island area, East Providence, Pawtucket, Central Falls. Really loved that. Really loved my time in Rhode Island. Hoping to get back. Then I moved to Virginia for a few months and then landed here in Sarasota. Where are they from? I'm from Cape Cod. What was their first memory of creating art? My first memory was sitting on the floor. I was 4 years old, and my dad was a lawyer, and he had these little legal pads with his name and address and phone number on it. They were about this big, and his heading was in red. I'll never forget them and the way they felt and smelled. and he gave me one and told me I wanted to draw, so he gave me one to draw with. I had a yellow pencil. It was sitting in our kitchen right next to a radiator, leaning against a radiator. It was a spring day, spring to summer day. I was wearing shorts, a tank top, sitting on the kitchen floor, leaning up against a radiator with the back door open to my side, and I was drawing a seagull. And my mom was in the kitchen. And I remember clearly, I looked up and I said, Mom, I want to be an artist the rest of my life. All right, let me pull this back up again. My phone got tired of my story and shut off. That's my first memory. My dad was kind enough to keep, my mom and dad were kind enough to keep several drawings that I remembered doing after that. One was Pilgrims and Indians at Thanksgiving time, and I have it framed. It's up in storage in Pawtucket. Do they create art every day? I try. I try to be very disciplined. It's a little bit harder right now for a variety of reasons, but I try and do at least like a couple of brush strokes every morning. Morning is the best time for me to paint for some reason. And then at night, I work on a project called Stories from Scootertown. It's black and white illustrations. It's a book I've been working on for 13, 14 years. I've made YouTube videos where we create the illustrations of the characters together. It's got its own Facebook page, and I've posted on Instagram. I've submitted it to publishers, and I've got great rejection letters. Like, this is the best project I've seen in years. We're not doing picture books anymore. So somewhere between the two of them, I try and make sure that I spend, if not a few minutes, a couple of hours every day. Because I have to. It has to be, this is who I am. My job cannot be the only thing on my mind 24 hours a day. My work does, because that's my purpose. That's why I'm here. Did someone influence them when they were younger? I wasn't brought up in a culturally literate home. My mom did a lot of crafts. She sewed, she embroidered, she knitted, she did all the traditional mom-wife things. She was very, very good at it. Quilter, very well known on the Cape for her abilities. She was very, very good. But no one was culturally literate. Like, we had no art books. So I don't know how or why. I just did gravitate towards art. Actually, there's when I was growing up, there were golden books by an illustrator named Nancy Smith. Anyway, she was the Golden Books illustrator when I was a kid, and I remember staring at her illustrations and flipping through and just transfixed by them, but something bothered me about them. There were always white children. There was no variation. Girls were always in dresses. It was that kind of thing that bothered me. But she taught me a lot about color and detail, which I don't do, but I really loved her work. And then, as it turns out, I moved here. She lives a couple towns away. I mean, just totally random. And we have a mutual acquaintance who has offered to introduce me to her. I'm not sure I'm going to take advantage of it, but she had a huge influence on me. And then I found Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. I love Lautrec. I love Lautrec. I love the pain he was in. I love that he was just driven every day to do this thing, and he developed his own way of working, ways that nobody had done before, the printing especially, working on the printing press and then drawing over the posters. I mean, it's just magnificent. He was in agony, he was in constant pain, he was an alcoholic, he was like deeply tortured, and I couldn't get over him. I just still can't get over him. And, you know, Van Gogh, that's an easy go-to. I didn't really care about Van Gogh when I was younger. Now I happen to really respect the artist for everything he went through to produce work. But beyond that, what motivates me to create? It's this. I can't stop. A friend of mine who does really well, and she does pastels, she picked it up like that one day. She said, I could take it or leave it. And she's doing well. I mean, people love her work. And she said, I could take it or leave it. She said, I don't have that driving compulsion like you do. She said, you can't stop. You physically can't stop. Mentally, emotionally, physically can't stop. She said, I don't have it. So I guess it's the compulsion. Did someone influence them when they were younger? Not really. There was no magic art teacher who told me I was wonderful. In fact, I was told I would never be anything by my art teacher. Someone I really looked up to when I was in middle school told me I would never be anything. I would never be an artist. And it turns out he was kind of crappy and he was talking out his butthole. He was painting raccoons in the sand dunes or whatever. But yeah, he told me I'd be nothing. That crushed me. Or that I wouldn't be an artist, rather. I wasn't good enough. And that crushed me for a long time. And then I had teachers in high school who were better. They were more supportive. But that's the one that stays with me a lot. What other creative activities do they like? Honestly, none. I paint and I draw. I have no interest in decorating. I don't landscape. I don't care about plants. I periodically crochet something, but this is it. This is my life's blood. Why would I waste my time on googly eyes or whatever? That makes no sense to me. It's a waste. Yeah, creative activities. This is a painting, doing my black and white illustrations, and actually before I moved here, when I was up north, I put on shows. I helped to organize gallery shows and pop-up shows. But since I moved here, that's just not a possibility. We don't have that culture here. So I paint in my garage. Have they exhibited, performed, and if so, where? Actually, if you go to my website, www.becklaneartist.com or .me, becklaneartist.com or .me, my resume is there. As you can see, I haven't really shown a lot at all since I got here, but I have a gallery in Sarasota called Chasen Art Galleries. They also have a location in Richmond. I have a gallery in Miami called Blue Egg Interiors Gallery. Blue Egg Interiors Gallery. I have Providence, Rhode Island, Newark, New Jersey. I've had solo shows in New York. I work in New York. I have work around the world. I have a collector in somewhere in South America. I can't remember. Brussels. I have people actually across the country and in weird locations who have found me on YouTube. And so I've sold a lot through YouTube, but like by weird locations, I mean like in the middle of nowhere. I have collectors, and they're not, you know, big time money collectors with yachts and stuff. These are everyday people who love my work and really invest in it. So yes, I've shown. Do they have a website? Yep, I just gave you that. How do they charge to perform or sell? That's a really important question, Zoe. That's a very important question. Some people go, well, I feel this painting is only worth $150. So they devalue themselves, and then they have no way to build on that. I feel no one will love my work, so it's only worth $300 or $80, or I love this piece. I actually saw a guy do this. He put a $16,000 price tag on a boat, a painting of a boat that was mediocre, and sat in a chair next to it, hoping somebody would buy it. I asked an artist how they did it. I asked several artists how they did it, and this is what I do now. I charge by the square inch. I charge by the square inch on the front, and then because I also do the sides of my paintings, and my galleries have said we've never heard of anybody doing that before, but I work the sides of my paintings. I don't take like this tan and bring it around the back. I think that's lazy and unimaginative. I have a particular process that I use. It's very specific, and that's what I stick to. So I charge for $1 square inch on the side, $1 square inch on the $1 square inch on the side, $1 square inch. No, $1. Oh, okay, I charge. Holy moly, sorry, it's very warm out here. I charge by the square inch. On the front, by the square inch on the sides. That's how I charge. I have my own pricing by the square inch, $1 a square inch, excuse me, not, but it's by the square inch. The work that's up in New York, they charge a lot more than the other galleries. We're trying to build the value of the work, but we work with people a lot. Also, the galleries I work with take payment plans, which I think is extremely important to do. Unless you're going to wait around for, you know, Mr. Mucky Muck to find you and get that $16,000 for your boat. You have to work with people, so we have payment plans. Where would they like to go from here to expand their career? Anywhere where there's culture. I love New York. I love New York. That's probably not going to happen any day soon. Love New York. Would love to go back to Providence because I was building a base there when I left, and I should have just turned around and gone back. I had a really good following in the Providence area and in Rhode Island that expanded out to Connecticut, up to Boston, like all up and down the East Coast. People would come to my shows. And I come here and I'm painting in my garage and nobody cares. So yeah, we had a pretty good growing audience that I had built. And I moved here. So Richmond, Virginia interests me. I'm talking to my son about moving to Seattle because he's out there and it's a youth culture, and that's what art needs, is youth culture. People looking towards the future, not looking at the past. Fresh thoughts, fresh ideas, innovation. That's what I like to be around. I want to go to Germany. I really want to be in Berlin. I want my artwork to be in Berlin. I love Berlin. Listen, look, and watch or read something by the artist and use the critique questions above to evaluate a piece by them. So that's a note to Zoe. Zoe, we've got this YouTube channel, I've got Instagram, I've got the website, I've got 3 Facebook pages. I was on Pinterest, I'm on a bunch of different places, so you can pick from all them. Sorry if that was really long, it's almost 20 minutes long. There, I've answered questions. If anybody else has a homework assignment due and they need a living artist, I'm here, I'm sweaty, but I'm ready to go. Okay? Ciao!